for example, when a painting is resold, they are supposed to get a revenue out of that, which is at best to about up to a maximum about 10% of the value of that particular sale. So in case a society like this is present in the artist community, then they would be able to get a revenue out of every resale of each and every painting that is sold through various channels. Now, how do you actually enforce your rights? Suppose somebody infringes your painting or somebody distorts your painting, how do you enforce it? The Copyright Act has got various provisions, both civil as well as criminal, by which you can actually enforce your rights. Now, what are the circumstances under which you can do it? Now, the infringement, what is infringement? Infringement is something that happens if somebody does an act without the consent or the permission of the artist. And it also would be if he actually sells, hires or distributes an infringing copy. There are various exceptions which are provided. I believe Judith is going to enlighten us on the various exceptions on the question of fair use dealing and other aspects of the exemptions under the US as well as the US law, and various provisions of the US law and the Indian law are actually same as far as the exceptions are concerned. Now, as far as the civil remedies are concerned, you can, for example, somebody infringes your rights or infringes the work that you have, you can file various suits, and that particular suit can be either for a damages or for injunction or for accounts. Now, these are primarily to be done in the civil courts, and section 61 specifically provides it's a power or a right that is given that the owners must be specifically made parties to those proceedings. Another very interesting right is the moral right or the special right of the author or the artist, which is there in section 57 of the Copyright Act. Now, the artists have the right to claim authorship of their work. That you can say, yes, I am the owner, I am the author of this, and you can exercise that right in various means. For example, somebody comes and distorts your painting. You can say, no, this is not what I intended out of my painting, and you can actually stop that person from distorting that. In fact, Pooja came out with an excellent example yesterday. One of the paintings which was supposed to be put up here had a small chip, some kind of a paint came out, and with her training in a lot of art law, she said, I don't want to do that. Had she done something like that, the artist could have actually enforced his moral right or integrity rights and said no, and sued her for damages, saying that I didn't want something like that to be done on my painting. The fact that you have done it, I am entitled to a lot of damages because you have actually distorted or mutilated my painting. There are various provisions in the Copyright Act which also deal with the criminal part of it. Now, if somebody infringes for the first time, he can actually be put behind the bars for about 6 months, which can extend to about 3 years. And for the subsequent offense, it actually runs up to a year. And if there are any queries, I would be happy to answer.
You all know, as Pragyan made it clear in his presentation earlier, so what exactly the artistic work as defined in the Indian Copyright Act 1957. Artistic work may be a painting, a sculpture, a drawing. It can be engraving also. So section 14 also explained that it's an exclusive right given to the author of the artistic work, that it may be an artist or a photographer, about the reproduction of the work, communication to the public, and issuing copies to the public, and also including the work in the cinematograph column, and adaptation of the work, and etc. Now I come to the important issue, that is the resale right. Now you're all artists and dealing with the artworks. You all know when the art piece is created, maybe a piece of painting or sculpture or any other engraving, you first go to an art gallery and negotiate and then start your exhibition. Then actual sale starts. Okay, once it won't get sold for the entire life period of that piece as long as it exists. It may be sold again, resold again. Every time it is sold, the price of that work increases. So that is what focused in the Indian Copyright Act, Section 53A. It says any resale for a price exceeding rupees 10,000. At the time when this provision was introduced in 1994 amendment, as the President said, so far 5 times the Indian Copyright Act has been amended. It was the 4th and one of the major amendments to the Act which included this, because the inclusion of this in Indian Copyright Act influenced by the international development, especially in Europe, the Berne Convention, and India's commitments to the Universal Copyright Convention, which is administered by the UNESCO. So, international commitments brought India to give more focus to this right of the artist. They introduced here, unlike any right, it is an inalienable right. Okay. When you assign this, Pragyan spoke about Section 19 assignment, which is done by writing agreement, and the mode of assignment, territorially and part or wholly, for which period you assign it. But despite the assignment, this right is retained by the artist. It's an inalienable right to receive royalties when that particular art piece is sold. Okay, resale happens. So that's what the Section 53A says. Then who will fix the share of the artist? It says maximum 10% will be fixed by the Copyright Board. So far, the law was introduced, taking care of all artists, keeping their economic interests. In 94 it was introduced, now 2012. After 18 years, Copyright Board has not fixed the share, because it says each work you can fix the different percentage up to maximum 10%. No artist association has gone to Copyright Board so far, last 18 years. You know, I keep reading in newspapers, such and such big artist work has been resold, even that has reached Sotheby's and Christie's and sold millions of pounds and dollars. Even small young artists' work, now it is displayed here, may be resold after a year or two. Now you must be selling for 1 lakh or 1.5 lakh. And then it may be resold after 2 years or 3 years, maybe 5 lakhs. Then you are entitled to get certain percentage fixed by the Copyright Board. Yet each and every resale happens. Are you getting? Are you people aware of this law, this provision I provided in the Copyright Act? So I thank Pooja taking this initiative, and also Pragyan coming to me and asking me to focus and speak on this issue. So the burden is on you, because when I went to attend WIPO International Conference in Singapore, there is a regional office of Asia that is known as CSAC, International Society for Artists and Composers. They also administer the rights internationally. All international societies are members of this international organization. Mr. Ang Tian came to me, told, what are you doing to these people? We have already done. We have introduced the law back in 94, and this is not being implemented. We are not responsible for the implementation. Whenever some seminars are held in copyright law, we do focus on this. Unfortunately, this has not reached artists or art lovers or auctioneers or art gallery owners and other people who are intricately connected with this kind of business. So no one knows this. That's why this provision is not being exploited in India. It is for the artists to come together and form a society like a copyright society, as my friend explained under that Section 33, and then they should start managing their rights. It's not only the question of resale right. You know, now in the digital environment, the genuine thing can be somebody can take a photocopy of this and then start posting it or making commercially many profits, and then are that commercial profits reaching you? So are those profits are reaching you? What is some percentage of that? Have you given permission to them, license to them to use the photograph commercially? So all these are the issues. So you can manage once you form a copyright society, start exploiting your intellectual property in a systematic way. So copyright board fixes this rate up to maximum 10%. Internationally, the rate is between 3 to 7%. I'll just come to that, how this idea of resale generated. I just take you back to Paris, France in 1893. The concept of droit de suite, they call it in the French language, was became famous through an article written. The title is Chronicle de Paris in February 25th, 1893. After that, this word became very famous because something is related to in the French real estate property. Because when the artistic work, artistic piece, they compared with any other real estate property. So when the sale happens, so this sale is happening. So they compared it with this, how it's important to give some percentage to the artist out of this when it is sold and resold again and again. So it is something like pursuing and following the property, they call it. Droit de suite means to follow up the right then finally. So it came like this. Droit de suite means the following up your right. Whenever it is resold, to go and get some percentage from the person who is selling it again and again. So that's what the concept behind this droit de suite, and legislation was introduced in 1920, and then it became famous. And again, they revised this in 1957. The uniform rate they fixed for all art pieces, about 3% of resale of that value should come back to, flow back to the artist in 1957. The reason why they started in 1920s, in the post-World War I situation, many of the famous artists got killed when their art pieces were plundered. So when after that, during the peace period, the First World War period, all these art pieces reappeared and they started selling. When the artist's wife and family, legal heirs, were begging in the streets, selling flowers. Just like example, Jean-Francois Millet, the famous impressionist artist. So his wife was selling flowers for buying bread every day. Whereas in the same street, in the big auction house, her husband, Mr. Millet's paintings were sold for millions of French shillings.